Start there it goes.
Everyone, welcome. How can the arts help raise our awareness? How can doing something creative raise our consciousness? What's yoga dance and how can that help you? We're going to talk about that and a lot more this afternoon. So in tonight's Reawaken You segment, the other day this past weekend, I had been writing a guest blog column for someone on spiritual topics. And this was a person that their audience, she just kind of wanted them to get their toes wet and spirit topics. And this weekend, my intuition kept saying to me, this isn't working for her. And so I sent her an email and I said, hey, if this isn't working for you, it's okay. Just let me know. I just, want to put it out there. And she wrote me back and she said, I have to be honest with you. It's really not working. And I said, that's fine. It's all good. And, because I felt so intuitively strong about this, I just wanted to be able to let her have an out. Because one thing as I get older, I'm trying to do is be direct, speak my truth, and be honest, but allow others to do that as well. And then this woman called me yesterday and left me this message. I feel so awful. I feel it was a Seinfeld moment, like we broke up by a Post-it note. And I said, really, it's no big deal. I'm not upset. And it would be really lame if I'm writing all these blogs on spirituality and I'm not listening to my own advice. So I just want to encourage you this week. One, always trust your intuition, but try to be as direct and truthful with people as you can, because it not only will benefit you, it'll benefit others. And, that might be a great question to ask our guests tonight. If we're doing all this consciousness awareness, not only in body, but in the creative area, does it help us speak our truth? But let me first tell you about Beth Schneider. Beth Schneider has written, produced, and directed 7 short films exploring spiritual transformation and evolving consciousness. She has earned 9 international awards for her children's film, The Magic Within, and her creative movement video, Dance With Us, has been used in schools throughout the United States. A teacher of yoga and ballet, and a spiritual devotee to waking consciousness over the last 25 years, Beth has developed her own integrative movement program called Yoga Dance. Yoga Dance cultivates conscious breathing, movement, meditation, dance technique, and the facility to use dance as a creative tool for healing, transformation, and expansion. Beth teaches at the Agape International Spiritual Center and is a choreographer of movement of Agape Dance Ministry. Beth's mission is to participate in the earth shift to fifth-dimensional consciousness through film, dance, and music. Welcome, Beth.
Hello, so glad to be here.
And I have to give a huge shout out to Beth. She was our first winner of the Reawaken You, Your Brilliance video contest. She did the interview in November. I had horrible technical difficulties at home, the worst ever. I actually was telling her before the show I switched internet providers the next day, so wanted to get her back again, talking about her yoga dance and expanding on the arts because she's done so much, and I think this is a wonderful topic. So let's get started. How do the arts, you've done film, you've done dance, how do they help us with our awareness and our consciousness?
Well, I have been guided in my own journey to be on a path of self-inquiry since I was a teenager. And the arts is simply a way to be in that inquiry, because the arts are not black and white. Sort of spiritual paths might be black and white, or certain teachings. But in art, you get to be open to any possibility. And so it allows me to go within and find out, without any constrictions about what things ought to look like or should look like, and just a little bit live in that gray area of possibility.
I really like that because it's, art is so unique. Certain things, my mom, I'm really proud of her. She just started 10 years ago doing watercolor, and she just had her first show last week, and she sold some paintings and was so excited. And she said, but our other artists are better. And I said, you can't think like that. You have a unique look that appeals to someone that might not appeal to someone else. It's just what we're attracted to.
Absolutely. There's different ways that art can be used, because foremost, I, as an artist, as I'm creating, I am unfolding my inner world. So much growth takes place. I'm also a vessel because I choose to be open to spirit moving through me. So I get to receive information that may not be about my personal unconscious world, but something beyond, the all that is. So I get to be a receptive vessel and let that come through me. So that's still my discovery. Then that's all about my process in the creative work. But then when we put it out to the world, then it becomes something else because, as you just said, other people will resonate and discover something entirely unique to them through their perception and filter. So, there's these multi-layers in which art is taking place.
Talk a little bit about how you, if you want to do this personally or if you've taught others, how you connect to spirit through your creative endeavors, because I don't think that automatically happens, and you might have a different perspective. I mean, as I'm literally here in the present moment thinking about this, I like to write. That's my creative outlet. And so I don't know. On spiritual topics, I'd probably say so. Maybe on my green blogs, not so much. Do you think we always connect with spirit, or how do we do that if we're not?
I think we all are inherently creative beings. We've been created by a creator in the image and likeness of that creative energy. So we inherently are creative beings. And a lot in the way we're brought up or society may condition some of us to be less connected to that creative essence. But we all have an opportunity to get in touch. I personally have always been involved in creating, since I was a child. So it does feel like a natural flow for me. But I work with many people who that hasn't been their experience. And it's so liberating to realize, when you pull out of the way, it's more like interference, like beliefs that get in the way. But it's all there. We all have access to being fully vibrant, creative, and it will look different for each of us.
Talk about, I'm really curious. We're going to play your, and if now is a good time, we can play your clip. I want to kind of preview it while Amnon cues it up. So she does this wonderful winter dance. Is that the title?
It's called Winter Reflections, and I created it at the winter solstice, so in later December. And I just feel like a lot happens, with the change of the solstices and equinoxes of energy shifts. We live on a planet with cycles, and we're integrating the infinite part of our beings that never changes with being in the earth in a body where things are always changing and those cycles. And so I feel like, so I created it, Winter Reflections, as a reflection of what was going on for me during that particular season this year as a gift.
Well, we'll play it now, and then we will talk a little bit about it. But I really think I love it because, first of all, it's awesome, but it just, I couldn't, let's play it. It says everything I'm trying to.
Okay. For so long, I felt a war within myself, two sides at odds with each other. Then I remembered the infinite one and felt myself merge and slide into a timeless, forgotten memory of wholeness. However, I found I would slide between this sublime, formless, infinite self and the warring sides within my physical reality. Each side wished to be rid of the other, not seeing it was their disdain for each other that compelled them to suffer from imbalanced extremes. Now has grace melted this illusionary wall of ice, and the scales of misunderstanding have fallen from my eyes. My premise had been wrong about this human experience. I had been trying to run from my own shadow, confounded that she remained vehemently attached to me. Now, suddenly, I looked with forgiving eyes of unconditional love and saw myself and not another, humanly flawed, yet perfectly divine. For the first time, we were in the same room, looking in each other's eyes and seeing we are the same. I cannot hate who I see before me without that hate hating me. Love healed my illusion of aloneness. I see my own beauty now, and we dance in harmony, a balanced reflection within the dimension of duality. Being on this bountiful earth, peace and joy are unlocked through the release of all my self-judgments, through the healing balm of self-recognition. My healing eyes see that even in the physical plane of separate appearances, I am never seeing anything but my one self, everything reflections and projections of my own mind. There was a time when I thought the spiritual path was to evolve beyond the burden of physical experience and through awakened consciousness be complete with the cycles of re-embodiment. Now I see the victory is bringing awakened consciousness into the physical realm of experience, gliding between a balanced and synchronous experience with my dual self and disappearing into the formless realm of all that is at the same time. The convergence of time and timelessness. I love this dance now of inner harmony and the gift of being in a holy relationship to myself. It's the very reason consciousness chose to move into density and create a physical playground, a virtual game of life in which there seems to be another. But being awake, I remember the other is also me. Any evil I perceive is what I must forgive and release from the unconscious realms of my own mind. Blessings to all as we play at being separate, so that I can stand and gaze upon you and see your divine magnificence and remember that we are one.
I love that. So talk a little bit about, I love the dance. And I have, I'm one of those people that I will only dance in my office. I don't dance outside of that. I'm working on that. One of the things I'm trying to improve on. But the words to me were so powerful. And if I could say what I wanted this show to be about, that right there was it in a nutshell. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about the process. And I love you talking about self-judgment, all these things, and just how the arts can help us figure that out. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, I feel I have to begin with some trust. A trust to go within myself and be safe. And that's being anchored in all that is, that I am safe. There are plenty of times where I might not feel safe, but I can return to the recognition deep within myself from that place of meditation, of going within. And meditation doesn't have to be something sitting still, because the way that I use dance, to me, that is a meditation. I do still sitting meditations, but when I dance and I move, it is an inner inquiry and allowing spirit to move through me. So I feel so much exploration can happen about the truth and the ways that my illusionary thoughts of lack or smallness or ways that I don't deserve things, that I can look at that, I can feel that through movement. In this case, I'm talking about dance, but it could be any other form, and actually allow myself to consciously feel all those things. And then call forth the other, which is, I am complete. All my needs are met. My cup overflows. I am connected to everything. Nothing can be taken away from me. And that wholeness, that visceral experience of wholeness, what does that really feel like to embody it? And I can put that into a movement. That doesn't require dance training to have that experience. That's just translating a feeling into an energy. And it doesn't have to have any technique to it.
So I'm making notes here because there are so many things that I want to comment on. The first thing that you said that I love is that it's meditative. And, you use dance as an example. But so many times, I know when I first learned meditation, the first time I tried it, I couldn't sit still. And it was on one of those little pillows. And they're like, act like a grain of rice is in your mouth. And I was like, oh, how long till this is over? Because it just did not get me into meditative state. But I love to mow the lawn. And that, to me, becomes a meditative state and a time to monitor my thinking and what are you really thinking here. So I love that you've emphasized that. Okay, and then the other thought just popped out. But I wanted you to touch on, before I forget, you are an artist. And I think that so many times people think being artist or creative means I've got to win an Oscar or I've got to have a top seller or a top 100 hit. And I think we all have artistic skills. And, my mom is a perfect example. She had never painted. Somehow someone got her to sit down and paint, which was a miracle in itself. And, yeah, it's great that she had a show. But you know what? Even if this didn't happen, it brings her peace and joy. So talk a little bit about that, because I want to encourage people, you don't have to be whatever to be an artist.
That's a really important point. This show, what you're doing is you're helping people to learn and expand themselves, and it's a spiritual process. There is that idea of like the career and making it in the world, and am I going to be a success and make money? And that's valid. Everything is valid, in this world, absolutely everything. But that's very ego-based, it's how is my ego going to survive and thrive? But what we're exploring in our conversation right now is the use of creativity as a way of opening up and expanding spiritually. Now, they can both be happening, right? I mean, that's why people love artists, because they do feel expanded because of what that artist has revealed to them, and they can mirror themselves in it. But this idea that I think we're talking about, detach it completely from an outcome related to financial gain or accolades, but it's really for my growth to expand into the full awareness of who I am as all that is, as an extension and a unique expression of all that is. And you hit on such a good point about there's all different ways that we can tap in to that place. And it's really what gives us the greatest freedom to do that. And you see, in our realm of separation, the idea is this is a realm of limitation. And so there is a tendency, it's inherent in it, to feel limited. And so creativity involves, guess what? I'm not limited. I can just see the energy of the universe, invite that to flow through me and not know what's going to be the outcome. That's the scary part. We tend in the ego world to like fixed outcomes that I know if I do this, then that's going to happen. With that video that you just showed, I really had no idea. It was almost like a happy accident how that whole mirror image came about. I did not plan that. And it ended up being this miracle to express what was on my heart. I had written something entirely different. Then I started seeing what was happening with the visuals. And then all of a sudden I realized, no, I have something else to say. And it evolved into that. So creativity is something that's constantly moving and evolving. And it's like a love affair, like an interaction with myself, my higher self, and not having to know what the answers will be. And that can be uncomfortable until you realize that it's pretty exciting, to see what comes.
So really, it's about living in the present moment. as well. Because if you talk about how I've had this plan and then the happy accident occurred and this great mirror image came. So I think that that's something. I know I'm always constantly living, in the moment instead of being here or in the past or in the future. But it sounds like that's been a part of your success, is going with the flow and being in the present moment.
Yes, and it's not because I'm always in the present moment. So I definitely use art as the way of bringing me back to center. And when I'm actively engaged in creating, I feel so centered and so on my game, and like I'm exactly in the right place at the right time. And I think you've got it right on. There's different techniques to being in the present moment. I mean, doing sitting meditation is, or for you, it's mowing your lawn. But being in a creative open space, whether I'm dancing or writing or mowing the lawn, is connecting with my eternal self. It's the Course in Miracles calls it the holy instant, which is right now, right now, right now. Because if you jump into right now, I actually step out of time. I mean, so it's like a little bit of a paradox there, that if I'm in right now, I'm not in time at all. I'm just in the infinite moment that has no beginning and no end. So it's that delicate dance that we get to explore when we're in embodiment of how to be in a body that is experiencing time, and yet not experiencing time.
Well, I just have to say, if you'd see my lawn, I don't know if you'd call it creative, but that's very kind of you to punch it in there. But what I wanted to ask you, where I had my brain fart earlier when you were talking, can you talk about, because as you were discussing it, about healing and how being creative can help heal us? Because as you were talking, that came to me. And maybe if you have a personal experience, or maybe someone you've worked with, or maybe you've done a workshop on that, but I'd love your thoughts on that.
Yes. Healing is very much a part of this yoga dance process, in tapping into my creative ability to heal things that need to be healed within myself. And that can be done in a general sense. I mean, just taking opposites, taking unforgiveness and forgiveness, and actually giving energy to both. So I'm exploring, what does it feel like to be unforgiving and resentful, and really let myself tap into that and then transform it into a total embrace, a complete release, and not the forgiveness where you're wrong, but I'm going to overlook, that you've actually done a bad thing. So I'm kind of like better than you because I can be such a big person. But it's the kind of forgiveness that's about realizing that all of that has never really happened, because in truth, all that really exists is love. Love is what really is. And all the other ways that we play on this stage, they're just like characters. It's like going to a movie. A movie can seem really, really real, but if the actors are good, and good storytelling, but at the end of the day, those actors are not those parts. And it's like that, as we're having to release and forgive things that we've experienced, that we have done, or that we've experienced done to us. They're just parts that we've played. And so through the imagination, to actually explore these things consciously, it allows me to realize that everything's fluid, and it just lifts, because I can then tap into that space of divine healing and love, and call on the infinite to bring forth that healing through my willingness of my entire body getting engaged through movement, or if it's, through painting or writing. But a total surrender is really what is allowed to happen, and forgetting the head. The head can really get in the way, my ego mind of trying to analyze and take things apart and put them together. It's got to leave that realm completely. And that's where creativity and working through an artistic medium can be so helpful, because you have to leave that side of your brain for a moment.
Now, I've had friends say to me, I don't have a creative bone in my body. Now, I disagree with that. But what would you say to someone out there who's watching, who is like, well, I'm really not creative, or I wouldn't know how to get started? What would you encourage them to do?
Well, first of all, if you are creative, because you're created in the image of likeness of infinite source itself, God, whatever you want to call it. And so you are a creative being. Yet it is possible to feel completely out of touch with the magnificence and the fullness of all that I am. I mean, that's what this journey is about, is remembering all of that infinite aspects of me. So to get started, I would think about what I like what attracts me without thinking about, oh, I can't do that. But where do I feel excitement? It's very important to follow your excitement. And if you don't feel like, oh, I'm not excited about like any of the arts, just pick something, the first thing that comes to your mind, and work with someone, because it is difficult if you're unfamiliar with something to get started by yourself because you don't really know where to begin. I mean, people come to me all the time that feel like they always wish they could dance. They feel an energy, a desire in that direction, but it felt really cut off from even thinking they could. And then just with the littlest amount of engagement, they realize it's right there because it's just giving yourself permission. And sometimes we need someone outside of us, whether that's going to take an art class or going to take a film class or working with me to work through the body with movement. But we just need someone that will be not judging us and giving us a safe space to discover our own creativity.
Mm-hmm. Now, you also, made a film. And that, to me, I would think would be a collaborative process, even if it's your vision and your energy. But that, I would think, I want you to talk a little bit about how the arts and being creative can help in community and help bring us together.
That's a beautiful topic. I mean, what's interesting is with the film that you just showed, I actually did absolutely everything. I mean, I shot that on my iPhone, set up on a tripod. And so the entire process was very much a deep moving within, completely. However, you're absolutely right. I mean, generally filmmaking, and I have worked on many projects where it is a community effort. And all of the films that I personally have made have been about spiritual topics and spiritual inquiry. And I've been fortunate to be working in community most of the time in spiritual communities where we are creating film. And what's beautiful about it is that it's, and this is often talked about, it's not about the end product, it's about the process. Like, how do I get to create in love and see God in every person that I'm working with? And despite the fact that we may at times have very different ideas, and how can I see myself in that difference? And really, it becomes a spiritual exercise to work in community towards creating a product together. So I think it's an amazing opportunity and essential. I mean, while we may at times create on our own, I think that we learn the most when I have to face who I am by looking at you. And, in this big world where there are so many different faces, that can come in the form of, oh, awesome, I love, I love the way you look, or the opposite. And that's me too. And I have to be willing. I believe that's the spiritual understanding that I have gained, is that it's all me. And it's especially challenging if I don't like what it looks like. And to say, you know what, you're showing me something in me that maybe I am not choosing to be aware of, that I need to forgive in myself. And that's the reason that you've shown up, because people show up to reflect me. So creating in community or doing anything in community is the greatest gift that I have for growth, especially once I surrender to that growth process.
I also think art has the ability. I was thinking we went to Italy on our honeymoon because my husband's, both sides of his family were from small towns. I said, we need to go see where you're from. But you sit there and see the art and just wow, and how couldn't speak the language, but something was communicated. And so how art and being creative can bring us together, even though if two countries are at war, there might be a piece or a song that moves that within us to remind us that we're not really separate. We are, we're one and the same. It has the power to do that.
It's so true. I mean, that's what makes it so tragic to look at that aspect of us that does go to war and does do horrible things to each other, when if you look at our art, we're all saying the same things. We all choose to live and love and explore the fundamental sense of who am I and what is this world that we're on. It's like we're all asking the same questions and trying to figure it out. So that's such a beautiful point that you make, that if we just look at each of our art, the art that we're creating, we see that there's nothing that separates us. That's so beautiful.
Do you have any, that and food would be the other thing. If we'd all eat all our different foods, the world would be a much happier place, at least from where I'm sitting. Do you have any suggestions? Like, where could someone see your film? Is there, or other spiritual film that are interested in that?
Well, if you go to my website, which is my cat, whoa, sorry about that, a little interference from the natural world, BethTheSybil.com, then you can see and access films that I have made on my website. So that's one way. And as far as other spiritual films, there's lots of ways, through the internet now to kind of just literally Google search, like spiritual cinema, and there's Spiritual Cinema Circle, which is a group that has literally kind of like a Netflix of sorts, but it's just spiritual content. But there's a lot available out there, and so I would, just use the good old computer to check it out. What's of a spiritual content. I have worked with Agape Media International, and you can check them out too, agapemediainternational.com. And they're also creating conscious media as a way of making a contribution, that we can contribute to this huge industry of communication, but with content that helps us to grow and expand.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to do in my own small way, is just to show all the people, hey, there are all these wonderful things out there that can help you reawaken your brilliance and live an amazing life.
Yes, and you are so doing that. And and with your opening messages, I loved your message for today. I think that is so significant, and ties into that thought about the judgment, not judging ourselves, and giving myself and others permission, no matter which direction it is. That's such a leap, of personal growth and really jumping into the oneness of all things, where it's not about me and how I measure up against this other thing. So that's a really, really healing, wonderful thought that you introduced with. And so I honor you for that experience, that you had and that you were able to share.
Well, thank you. I also took an aromatherapy class this weekend and learned that frankincense is supposed to be, if you burn that, that's supposed to be, the vibe is about truth from a spiritual perspective. So I thought, we'll just put that all over the house and start burning that, because that's something I truly am trying to honor. And again, if you come from a place of truth with the intent never to harm, but just to be honest, it only helps all of us.
Yes, and the thing is that all things work together for good. So if I really understand that, I can't make a decision that's based in my truth and it actually be hurting someone else. I can trust that it does all work together for good and that we're here to serve each other. And sometimes, when things don't work out the way I think that they ought to, based on my agenda, that's exactly what I needed to experience, and then give me a minute and I'll catch up and I'll realize, what? This is ideal just the way it's unfolding. And that's, again, about what we were talking about earlier, about being in the present moment and trusting that everything is showing up exactly the way it's supposed to right now, regardless of my opinion about that. Because if it's showing up there's a miracle in that. No matter how it looks, there's a miracle right there. And I just need to adjust, get off my agenda about what I think would be best right now for me or anyone else, and let spirit reveal the miracle. Because a lot of waking up I have experienced involves things not working out the way I think they're supposed to, but really there's something so much better, and something perhaps that I really needed to wake up about in myself, that is creating interference or some kind of boundary or some kind of belief that I was holding that I didn't realize was creating some interference. So that's the bottom line. Everything is working together for good, for all. And I'm not disconnected from you. So there's nothing that you can do that actually can throw me off my divine path.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now talk a little bit about the arts and raising vibration, because I believe whether it's painting or writing or dancing, because, that's part of your mission about the fifth dimension. So talk a little bit about how does that affect us on a vibrational level?
Mm-hmm. Well, you can look at different emotions and nothing is right or wrong. It's not like good or bad. There can be low vibrational fields, like anger and hate is a low vibration, but unconditional love, well, that's, off the chart. And there's lots of stuff in between. And we're here to simply have experiences. So we're going to experience all the colors in the rainbow, all the palettes, So I am going to have experiences of in a lifetime of anger. I'll know what that feels like, but I don't have to stay at that low vibration. I can choose to move into a higher vibration, move into love, and that involves acceptance. And so I use this through movement to simply, I can take a feeling tone, like take joy, and I, through my imagination, can tap into what does joy feel like right now? To be completely joy-filled. My cup is overflowing and my life is flourishing just as a feeling. I'm going to feel joy right now. And now, what does my body feel like? Does it lighten up? It's like just to actually smile. You can even, you've heard of that, smile will raise your vibration. And I can take certain qualities, peace, joy, forgiveness, healing, wholeness, and I can physically feel the energy vibration rise in me. And, affirmations is very popular in the spiritual world, but to just speak something can be rather intellectual. It could be. But to viscerally bring it into your body so that it's like, I'm going to be joyful. I am joy, and make it a physical experience. Like I'm going to spin and shake my arms because I'm joyful. That brings it into the experience realm, I believe, much more powerfully than just calmly saying, I affirm, I am joy, I am love, I am peace. If I can dance that, bring it into a movement, a meditation of movement, that creates, in my experience, profound integration so that I raise my vibration literally, not just as a thought that I'm hoping to do.
Excellent. I think that'll be a nice segue. I want to show your yoga dance clip next, and that was what you had sent me when I had the contest and said, send me a video, tell me what you're doing. So do you have anything that you want to tell us before we show that?
Well, the yoga dance clip is a trailer for the full-length 1-hour DVD, which is a home practice. And it involves like a very structured practice for you to do at home that is on all levels. It's body, mind, spirit. So it's kind of like a one-stop shop. And it also includes the free expression aspect at the end of the entire program. But yeah, go ahead and let it roll.
Okay, here we go.
Namaste, my friends. Take a sacred journey with me, Beth the Sybil, and Gaia, our beloved Earth, integrating body, mind, and spirit through the movement meditation of yoga dance. Step out from the world of time and into the realm of infinite spirit and grace. This program offers divine activations of ancient codes within you, awakening dormant DNA and fifth dimensional consciousness. Sacred energy is conferred each time you watch and participate with the exercises. Be patient and kind with yourself. Focus on your breath as the center point upon which all the exercises are built. Find the natural rhythm between the movements and your breath so you may consciously breathe life force into your three-dimensional experience. Yoga Dance is a rigorous 1-hour spiritual fitness program that combines conscious breathing, yoga, ballet, chakra activations, sacred affirmations, and improvisational dance in a balanced approach to total well-being. Dance, transforming your life and the planet through sacred movement. Take lower vibrational, fragmented energies such as fear and limitation. Express them through your movements, and then transform them through your dance of unconditional love and infinite possibilities. Thank you, friends, for sharing this practice with me. Till next time, namaste.
I love that. Now, one thing I want you to talk about, because you sent me, so I've done and seen the entire thing. Like, when I think of yoga, I guess I think more of the physical thing. And what you really, in this, embrace the whole body, mind, spirit fitness. It truly is that. So talk a little bit about that. I love that, because I think that just is combining everything. But talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, yoga actually means union with God, with universe, with all that is. So to me, that is really the essence of what I'm trying to communicate. Though there are some traditional yoga physical exercises in the program, it's more about using movement as a way to connect to source, of finding my union with God through my inner self. And I am in a physical body here. And so that is an opportunity that I have to merge those two, my physical form with my practice. It becomes a communication device. That's what the physical body is. It's a communication tool. So now in this practice, yoga dance, it's the tool to communicating with my higher self, and so there's many levels to it. It is in a full-on technique of like specific movements that help to train the body and connect, because it's done in a meditative state of mind. And the very earth that you see as the background, those are all very powerful locations energetically with a very high vibration. Our earth is such a beautiful, magnificent place, and so supportive to us, so I believe it's so helpful to get out into nature and connect and put your bare feet on the earth. And so even though you might be doing this practice in your living room on your DVD player, the energy is transferred, the energy of our sacred, supportive, loving Mother Earth through the process. And so yes, it's just a total integrative, because it then gets into what we've talked about a little earlier, which is that place of your spontaneous creativity, of using movement without being told what movements to do, but just letting your heart reveal. And it doesn't have to look like anything in particular, except being authentic to what you're experiencing, of what that connection feels like.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The other thing I love is you emphasize conscious breathing and your connection to breath. So talk about that, because I know when I get upset, like I've had to watch and be like, oh my gosh, you've stopped breathing. I haven't even noticed, or I'm clenching. So talk about the importance of that.
That is such a good point, because breathing comes naturally to us. We easily don't realize how much we're missing out when we're not consciously breathing. Just right now, just take a deep breath consciously. Just inhale and release. And do you notice that just taking one breath consciously, that your whole energy shifts? It's just a miracle, because it's any moment we can do that. We can change it all up. Just take a moment and just consciously take a breath. That's a connection right there. That's at the essence of meditation, to begin to breathe consciously, because the moment I stop breathing, of course, I'm not in this physical dimension anymore. So the breath is that connection to the life force for as long as I'm embodying this physical form. So the more I breathe consciously, just simply bringing my awareness to the fact that I am breathing. So therefore, I'm alive. If I'm alive, I'm connected to all life. I'm not this isolated person with a set of isolated challenges. You know what I mean? So the moment I consciously breathe is the moment that I connect to myself as part of all that is. So it's such an important practice to engage in as often as I can remember, whether that's a sitting meditation at the beginning of the day, which is awesome, but throughout the day, if I can remember that, I am in a much higher vibrational state.
Talk a little bit about chakras, and if you can briefly tell what those are for people who are watching that don't know, and why do we need them activated? Why would we care?
So chakras are closely related to the breath in that they are these etheric energy centers. They are the source of animating this physical body, even if I am not aware of them at all. But as I become aware of them, I'm able to access a lot more of the energy that they're offering to me, just as with the breath. I'm going to breathe unconsciously and physically be here. But as I bring consciousness to it, a gift is given to me, even if I have no idea what that gift will be. So it's like that with the chakras. Much has been written about them, and of course you can research and find out a lot. But basically, there are 7 chakras within our physical system. And there's a center chakra, which is at the heart, my heart chakra. And that's like a connective point between the 3 upper chakras, which are more anchored in the spiritual awakening and the spiritual energy, and our 3 lower chakras, which are about our physical functioning, our physicality. And the heart, the space of love, allows this coming together. It's a bridge. And so that we have a balance in our experience of being physically alive, healthy, without blockages going on, and spiritually anchored, so that we're allowing divine energy to come in through our crown chakra. So we have, starting at the base of the spine, which is kind of the red survival chakra, the root chakra. It represents pure survival and sex, the sex energy. And then we move up into the space of the womb and creativity, and that is orange. And you can just visualize those colors. The sacral, that's the sacral chakra. And it's where creation on the physical plane is taking place, that level of creativity. And then notice a correspondence, you see, between upper and lower. So actually because I think that's what's really important. So at the root, my base of the spine chakra, so my survival on the physical is related to my crown chakra, which is full awakening, spiritual awakening, the 1,000-petaled lotus. So imagine those two, the correspondence, and those two being united. And then, so the next ones would be my third eye. So this is my spiritual vision. So that's spiritual creativity. And linking that then to the creativity on the physical plane, right? Which we can interpret as, giving birth and birthing things. But if I'm in the body, I have to engage both, because I am dancing. That's a physical phenomenon. So it's uniting the upper and lower. And then as we move up, then in my solar plexus, which is, my gut, basically, you get a gut feeling, and that's like my will and my power in the physical. And so in these lower chakras, I could have blocks, where I feel limited in my power. And so I don't really step out in this physical world and really embody all of my potential. And so energy needs to be cleared. And so I invite that clearing by bringing my attention to that area and uniting that, my throat chakra. That's that pure power communication that you were talking about earlier, to speak my truth. There's so much power when I speak my truth from that spiritual place of knowing. So now let me unite the power source of speaking my truth, being anchored in my truth. Let there be light, and there is light. And my power center on the physical level of my will as an individualized being. And then now something incredible happens, because when all these things then merge, they get anchored together in the heart and in love. That's the marriage and the marriage of opposites, of upper and lower, the marriage of masculine and feminine, because you can even see that, like, the earth is feminine, the sun represents masculinity, and then there's this marriage that happens. So the energy and the warmth of the sun allows life to take place on this planet as the two interface. So it's really about balance and energies being united, uniting these energy fields and simply bringing awareness in the most gentle way. You don't have to know a whole lot. It's like meditation. You don't need to know a lot about meditation. Just simply be still and know that you're bigger than your personality, and just, focus on your breath for a moment. But it just, having the intention to just be aware allows a magical gift to be unfolded. So same thing with the chakras. There's a lot that's out there to learn. And I encourage you to do so if you feel drawn. But just bringing your awareness to their reality, that they are there, they support us, and I can, by my intention, open up and decide to clear any energy that's blocking in my chakra system. And, on my DVD, there are actual chakra physical exercises for the clearing of the lower chakras and integrating and utilizing the upper chakras and bringing them all together at the heart. So I encourage you, if this interests you, to awaken your chakras, to get involved and to bring yoga dance into your life.
We'll talk a little bit also about the heart guided improvisation, because that's something that I love and think so important, that if we would follow our heart, we'd live in a much more joyful world if we were all doing that. And I love that part. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. Well, fundamentally, heart-guided improvisation is just following without any judgment, without any imposed restrictions or expectations, what is flowing. And it's all there for us. In other words, you might feel hesitant or think that there's some kind of block, like a writer gets a writer's block and nothing's flowing. The river's there, okay? It's there to jump into, and I may have some of all my own beliefs that are stacked on there that won't let me, like, oh no, like something will happen or I can't. So it's literally letting go, letting go of the fear of what will happen? Will I look like a fool? Will nothing happen? So the first thing really is letting the interference out of the way, you know. So that requires forgiveness, being really forgiving with myself and compassionate, and know that I'm safe. In this moment, I'm loved and I'm lovable and I'm totally safe. So I'm safe to go into that heart space and trust that whatever comes forth is perfect, you know, because it's exactly what I need. And once I give myself permission to do it, I discovered that that's true. I mean, and that's been my experience with all the people that I've worked with in the past, the same thing. There may be a hesitancy and a fear that nothing will come, but when I am forgiving enough to give myself the space and the love, and I love myself enough, then great things come forth. And I feel so, I experience myself loving myself. You know, that's the thing. If I let my heart guide, I feel that love and I love myself and I love the love that's coming back to me from my higher self, because my heart is that tap to the, you know, the magnificent, huge, all that I am aspect of myself, you know. And so heart-guided improvisation can be slightly defined or not defined at all. In other words, just put on music that inspires me and allow whatever needs to come forth to come forth. It can be slightly structured in that I might be wanting to work out certain things. Like maybe I'm feeling tense right now and I don't know why, but I feel like I really need to work out and work through that tension. So in that case, my heart-guided improvisation would involve physically dancing that tension and exploring it in as big a way as possible. Because maybe what I think of as kind of like a low-grade tension turns out like, oh, it's attached to like some anger and resentment, and I actually want to like kick someone's butt, and I'm feeling like a lot of combative energy. You know, it's like I go a lot deeper. And when I release it, it's like such, you know, a letting go. And then it's gone. You know, this thing I was carrying, this low-grade tension, is suddenly it's just gone because I let myself really get in touch with it. And then I was able to invite through the heart a healing to come through. You know, that's the thing. I don't ever leave it at that. Like if I'm really exploring anger or hostility through movement, I don't leave it at that. I just let it all flow, let it all be released, and then invite that space of unconditional love to come through. Love to myself, love to my brother and sister. And that's where that healing is. So the heart-led improvisation can be either completely free expression and just letting whatever wants to emerge, or I can have it be directed towards a particular healing experience.
You've said so many, I'd forgotten how aware and conscious you are from our last interview. What one thing would you say to people that they could do right after this broadcast, before they go to bed, or when they wake up in the morning to reawaken their brilliance?
Well, as the creator of yoga dance, I will suggest that you put on some music that really stirs your soul and simply get very still and just listen. And then allow just the smallest movement to begin. So you're not moving from the outside, but you're moving from the inside. And just feel what's emerging. And just let that become bigger and bigger and bigger. And you know, I do it all the time, outside under the trees. I don't need music, but I love music too. So you don't have to put music on if you hear your own inner music. But just allow yourself a safe space. You are loved. You are beautiful and magnificent. And there is so much wanting to be born through you. Still more and still more, no matter how magnificent your life is right now. We are ever expanding beings. And so through movement, you're able to tap into that magnificence. So give it a go.
Excellent. Now tell us if you have any upcoming classes or workshops. We know your website, we'll say that again, is beththesybil.com. But if they can get yoga dance there or any other information you'd like to share.
Absolutely. So right now I am mostly working one-on-one with people. I find that process to be very healing, but groups are fantastic. And so I am regularly doing like a class series at Agape or at a yoga studio. So if it interests you, please go to my website, take a look at all the stuff that's there. There's some wonderful articles as well as a lot of videos. And then just get on my mailing list. So I'll be able to, I live in Burbank, California. And so if you're local, if you're in Southern California, would love to interact with you face to face. If you would like to practice yoga dance and conscious dance with me. But I will also keep in touch with you with any workshops coming up that are, for long distance people. And you can get your yoga dance DVD and have that practice in your home at your leisure. So look forward to connect with you. Please do. I love to interact with people. So please email me through the website and I'll look forward to hear from you.
And Beth, I actually, because you were on the first guest for March, this month I'm running the second annual winner interview on Reawaken Your Brilliance. So share with people. I don't bite. It was relatively simple. Just you had to send in a video clip and tell me a little bit about yourself. So letting people know that. Julie at Reawaken Your Brilliance. I want to give people a voice that maybe don't have an opportunity, because I feel one of my missions is to disseminate information. So right, it was easy, painless. I'm nice.
Fantastic. It was awesome. I mean, first of all, you have a great show and you're an awesome person. And the work you're doing is sublime because you're helping us all to expand, and that you're putting that opportunity out there to people that may not be very well known out in the world, that you would be normally people you might contact to interview. But there are so many people doing amazing things within their own communities. And so it's just a beautiful shout out and recognition that there are so many of us that are engaged in high levels of creativity and sharing, and we're all blessing each other. We all have gifts. And it's just that recognition that there aren't some people that are the teachers. I mean, we're all teachers, and you're recognizing that and affirming that. So go for it, send it in, and get on the show.
All right. Well, thank you, Beth. It was great having you on again. All right, everyone. And I have a shout out to Amnon Nissan, my producer here at Nissan Communications, who's also a big part of having Consciousness TV and raising awareness. All right, everyone. We'll see you here next week. Bye now.
Tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Health In with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, The Tanya Love Show, Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert, and if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by Atomus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals. That VidBlasterGuy.com, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.